All right, folks, so it's 5 after, and out of respect for everyone's time, I think we'll get going, and I'll turn things over to Emily from CLARB, who's here to talk about CLARB and what they do and the layers and answer your questions. So definitely want to thank Emily for coming in on a Saturday and taking time out of her personal life to chat with everybody. There's about almost 30 of you in the call today, so obviously an area of interest to quite a few people. And like I said, if you have questions throughout, you can either chat those into the chat box or put your hand up or just unmute yourself and talk. Don't forget to unmute. You should all be muted at this point. Other than that, I'm going to turn it over to Emily, and thanks so much.
Well, hi, everyone. My name is Emily Parker. I'm the exams coordinator at CLARB. I've been with CLARB for about 5 years now. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with the PowerPoint presentation. There's a couple of moments that I'll pause throughout the presentation to give people the opportunity to ask any questions. And you can also do the chat like Todd was saying before. So I'll go ahead and launch that right now. Let's see. Okay, can everyone see that? So I'm going to get started here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who CLARB is first and go into the services that we offer. And also I will talk about the LARE a little bit. So first, who is CLARB? Our mission is to provide uniform standards of competency for landscape architecture practice to ensure the public's health, safety, and welfare. And we do this by administering the LARE, and that is administered throughout the US and Canada. And here's a little infographic of our member boards. So we have 49 states, Puerto Rico, Washington, D.C., and 3 Canadian provinces you see right there, Ontario, Alberta, and British Columbia. So what we offer is the LARE, the council records, CLARB certification, that's all towards a member service standard. And from the member board side, we offer licensure defense and advocacy and ensuring future relevance of licensure. Do we have any questions so far at this point? So I'll go on to the council record. So people ask, what is in my council record? We have official verification of your education transcripts, professional references, exam verification, and your council record also holds your exam history as well. So the council record is something that all candidates are required to have. What it is, it's a professional verification of your entire work history. So it helps to apply for licensure once you get to that point after you finish the exams. So like I said, using your council record, it lets you apply for licensure easily. Once you are licensed, you have a place to store and track your CE credits. And you can also receive CLARB certification after licensure. So what is CLARB certification? So what that is, we basically review your entire council record and make sure that it meets our standards, which is basically an accredited LA degree, employment verification from the direct supervision of a licensed landscape architecture for at least 3 years, 3 professional references, your entire exam history, registration verification as well. And then once we verify all that information, you can receive CLARB certification. And what that does, you can, it allows you to apply to different jurisdictions for reciprocal licensure much faster, because we've already reviewed your information and we show the licensure boards that you meet certain requirements, and it basically expedites the process for applying for reciprocal licensure. And there's a couple of jurisdictions that require it for reciprocal licensure that we've mentioned below. They're Connecticut, Delaware, Mississippi, Nebraska, Ontario, Puerto Rico, South Dakota, and Tennessee. Any questions at this point? So at this point, I'll move on to, oh wait, looks like we have a question. A reciprocal membership, basically applying for reciprocal licensure is once you've received your first license, applying for another license. So that's what's called reciprocal licensure. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to move on to talking about the exam. So the LRE is completely computerized, and it measures the testing of minimum competency that those individuals who are striving to become landscape architecture, and it's one of the requirements for licensure. Sometimes we have people ask, once I pass the exam, am I licensed, or can I apply for licensure? And that really varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, because take Mississippi, for example, they don't have any experience requirements, but that's kind of an anomaly, because most jurisdictions do require a couple of years of experience. And like I mentioned, if you have that verified in your council record, once you pass the exams, you can have your record, what we call transmitted or sent to the licensure board in support of your application for licensure. How is the exam developed? There's 4 sections of the exam. We have an exam writing committee that's made up of volunteers across the US and Canada. Sections 1 and 2 have 6 members each, and sections 3 and 4 have 11 members each. And we strive to make sure that the volunteers are varied and represent basically the entire profession of landscape architecture as it is in the US and Canada. So we make sure, like I said, to have US and Canadian representation, and not just from certain areas. We try to get them from all over the US and Canada. Also varying scopes of practice. So we look at their background and make sure that they have become multidisciplinary firms and maybe small practices as well. But all of these members are licensed landscape architects, either in the US or Canada. So there's 4 sections of the exam, and we have what each exam covers listed below. And we have how many items are in each section of the exam. So section 1, for example, has 85 scored items and 15 pre-test items, a total of 100 questions. Section 2 has 80 questions, and you see both sections 1 and 2 have multiple choice and multiple response type of questions. So what means a multiple choice question only has one right answer. And a multiple response question has more than one right answer. So it might say something like choose 2 or choose 3 or choose all that apply, something like that. Sections 3 and 4 also have the multiple choice and multiple response, and they have what's called hotspots and drag in place, and I will show you examples of what that means in upcoming slides. But at this point, I just wanted to stop and see if anyone had any questions about what I just went over. So some people ask us, when should I start the exam? So if your jurisdiction does not, sorry, I have a question. Pretest items, what are pretest items? So those are questions that are not scored on the test that you are taking. However, they are in development to be on future exams. Sure. Okay, so when to start taking the exam. We get this question asked a lot. So if you're in a jurisdiction, let's say Ontario, for example, that doesn't have any pre-approval requirements, basically, if you have the accredited degree, you can start taking the exam. So it's up to you. However, according to our research, the closer that you take sections 1 and 2, we see an increased rate of success in passing the those 2 sections. And we have a little infographic here that shows that. So our research has shown that the closer that you take sections 1 and 2 to graduation, the higher rates of success. However, for sections 3 and 4, when you gain a little bit more of working experience, it shows that there are higher passing rates for those 2 sections. So how do I prepare for the exam? There are resources on the CLARB website under the Take the Exam section. I highly encourage everyone to check out the orientation guide, which contains FAQs for taking the exam and the exam content, and also has what I'm about to show you, samples of what the exam looks like and what are hotspot items and what are drag in place items. So the orientation guide is a very, very valuable resource. We also have a reading list of books, basically, that we recommend that you use to prepare for the exam. We have a link on our website for more resources through ASLA, BC, SLA, AALA, OALA. We've been tracking first-time test takers and found that on an average, it takes about 1.08 tries to pass the exam. Any questions so far? Okay, I'm going to move on to show you guys some samples of the exam. Let's see. So as you see at the end of the sentence, it says choose 3 that apply. That's an example of a multiple response question. And if there's more than one answer to choose from, the exam will always say that. It will say choose 2 or choose 3 or choose all that apply. You see here, there's check marks next to each 3 items that have been answered. Sometimes people ask us, will it tell us, if we accidentally choose 2 or choose 4, will it let us know? The answer is no. You really have to pay attention and make sure that you're answering the number of items that the question is asking you to answer. So I encourage test takers to really pay attention to how many items you're supposed to check on the exam. So if it says choose 3, make sure you're choosing 3. Here's another multiple response type question, choose 4 that apply. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4. You got to make sure they're all checked off. So this is an example of a hotspot question. So as you see, there's the question, and then it says select the area in the boxes provided. So there's 3 boxes. You would basically just click on the box to answer the question. It doesn't matter where in the box that you click, as long as you click inside the box. And you can see right here, there's a red X to show that that answer or that item has been selected. Okay, so the question is, if you only choose 3 correct answers for a question that asks you to choose 4 that apply, will you not get any points for that question, or are there partial marks given? The answer is there's no partial points given on exam. Each exam question is worth 1 point each. So you either get it right or you get it wrong. So if you answer 3 on a choose 4, that is considered wrong. And you wouldn't get any points for it. So this is another example of a hotspot question. As you see after the question, it says select the plan, and there's 2. Basically, if you click anywhere inside a box, that's your answer right there. So anywhere, it doesn't matter where in the box, so long as it's inside the box. So this is an example of what we call a drag in place question. As you can see to the left, there are 3 boxes that you need to move into the dashed box. So there's parking, light, playing fields, playground, picnic area. Also, if you look at the very beginning of the question, it says refer to the exhibit. If you look directly above that, it says show exhibits. You just need to click on that to help you answer the question. So the next slide will show you what happens when you click show exhibits. And there's the exhibit that will help you answer the question. And then this shows you moving the boxes from the little menu onto the question. This is another type of drag in place question. As you can see, it gives you instructions on how to answer the question. It says place the appropriate contours on the site plan. And then here are the contour lines placed onto the graph or the image. Again, this is another drag and place. As you can see, after the question, it says place the contours. Once we ask the question, we'll give you instructions on how to answer it. Like I said before, the choose 2 or choose 3 or place the contours. So it's very important to read the question in its entirety. And then here's a picture of the contours placed onto the question. Are there any other questions? So Sarah says, okay. Let's see. I came across a question with drag and drop, but with words in the exam, not here. Do I have to use all the words in the list and place them on the diagram? So basically, if you just read what the question is asking you, it should tell you what exactly you need to do to answer the question. I can't get into too much technical detail because I have not studied landscape architecture, but I do know about the exam. So if you just read what it says, if it says to place the contour lines, you basically choose the correct one. So it's almost like a multiple choice, but with drag and place, if that makes any sense. And then another question we have, how much time on average should we spend on each question? That really depends on your comfort level. The exam is timed, and I don't know if I don't have any slides here showing it, but the timer does show up on each exam question, and you do have the opportunity to basically minimize it so you can't see the time you have left, but that's up to you. You can have it open or can have it closed, whatever your comfort level is. I know some people get a little anxious, I guess, when they see the countdown going on in the exam, but each question will show you how much time you have left, and it also will tell you what question you're on. Also, it'll give you the chance to basically flag a question so you can come back later at the end of the exam to review it. Let's see, I'm not sure how to answer this question. How do you determine what is right and wrong for exam 3 in reference to dragging and dropping items, and when design can be interpreted so differently? Can you explain what you mean by that?
Remember, folks, if you think it would be more efficient, don't forget you can unmute and sort of talk your way through it as well.
Yeah, I'm not.
Hi there, it's Caitlin. So if you go back to that last question that showed the parking lot example, where to drag and drop the lighting, I was just wondering, like, how exactly it is determined when you guys review the questions if that is the best location, like, for the drag and drop items. Like, if somebody placed the parking lot somewhere else on the diagram, and they justified it in the comments, like, would they be reviewed and considered for that? Like,
Oh yeah, there. Like I should have mentioned that too. Every single question has the chance to comment on the question, and all questions are reviewed by the committee prior to the testing. There is a margin of error already built into the scoring area. So basically the entire element must fit fully within the scoring area to get credit.
so for example, on a drag and drop, if I was to place a parking lot like next to the retail center and justified it in the comments, and the exam reviewer was like, oh, she does make a good point, then that would be considered as like a pass for that question?
Well, there's already an area of margin built into the question, but we do review the comments. So basically it depends on the question.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, it's Ninella. I was just going to ask, once we make a selection for, let's say, drag and place, and we kind of change our mind, can we go back and back to the question and redo?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And if you guys have any other questions, feel free to email info@clarb.org or also call us. We don't have like a phone system basically where you talk to a machine. If you call us, you'll speak with someone right away. And our office hours are 9 to 5 Eastern, Monday through Friday. So just call us or connect with us on social media or email us.
Awesome. So absolutely. Thanks so much, Emily, for popping in and answering some questions. Thanks for those that asked questions. Obviously, it's always a good opportunity to kind of get the information from the horse's mouth, if you will. So if there's no other questions, it might be a really short week, but that's okay. Obviously, it's really about your needs. So again, thanks, Emily, for jumping in on your Saturday, and we really appreciate it. And I'm sure as people will do, they will think of questions, and you'll probably start to get some emails as they percolate through the day. So yeah, thanks very much. For those of you that are, if there's other stuff that people wanted to chat about, just because it's been a short week, and I know some of you are registering right now for the next round for the April exam period. If there are other questions that people wanted to talk about, we can probably let Emily disappear and have the rest of her day back, and then I'll leave the room open for a while, so if people do want to talk their way through questions or ask other questions, we'll leave it open for a little bit and I'll hang out. If not, we'll let people go. But thanks again, Emily, for popping in. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Todd. Thanks for having me.